Welcome to Daily Stoic, where we delve into the profound wisdom of ancient philosophy to find clarity and purpose in our modern lives. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to lose ourselves in the endless cycle of tasks, opinions, and distractions. But what if I told you that there's a way to break free, a way to awaken from the slumber that dulls our senses and leaves us vulnerable, adrift without an anchor? Today we'll explore the timeless teachings that urge us to construct a personal code, one that gives meaning and direction to our journey. Join me as we rediscover the path that not only restores our purpose, but also guides us to live a life of true significance. It's time to awaken, my dear, from the slumber that has dulled our senses in this modern age. The absence of deep spirituality has left humanity vulnerable, adrift without an anchor. We find ourselves caught in cycles, working without purpose, speaking without conviction, walking without direction. But worst of all, we think without truly understanding. Let me caution you, abandoning your moral compass without reason is not a sign of bravery. True courage lies in the deliberate construction of a personal ethos, rules, principles, values, beliefs, and habits that give meaning and direction to your journey through life. I was once the fool who surrendered to the whims of the wind, swayed by the currents of life without a firm grasp on my purpose. I remember my mistakes vividly. When I turned away from theocentrism, I fell into a profound moral and spiritual void, descending into misfortune. I lost all sense of security, trust in anything or anyone, and the purpose of my existence became a mystery. But I found my way back, not by returning to the divine, but by discovering a path that restored my purpose and illuminated the lives of many others. Stoicism. The necessity to address life's fundamental truths became too pressing to ignore. It was time to forge new maxims for a new philosophy, and today I share them with you. In ancient Rome, after each victorious campaign, the citizens would gaze upon the triumphant general leading his powerful army, basking in glory, honor, and knowledge. What more could one desire? Yet amid this display of power, a humble aide would whisper in the commander's ear, "Remember, you too will die." This solemn reminder, echoed by Seneca, urged the general, and all of us, to live as if our final moments were upon us. Though it may seem harsh, these reminders are necessary, not just in times of victory, but in our darkest hours. If we spend our lives avoiding the reality of our mortality, distracting ourselves, and denying this fundamental truth, we risk losing the very essence of what it means to live. Remember, we are all going to die, the wisest among us have said, urging us to confront our fears rather than flee from them. Marcus Aurelius taught that the awareness of our mortality should shape our thoughts, words, and actions. Memento mori, the contemplation of death, is not morbid, but the key to living with purpose. It infuses life with meaning, forces us to prioritize, and grants us perspective. Time, once recognized as finite, transforms into a precious gift, a treasure not to be squandered. It is the only thing worth coveting, for it is the currency of our lives. When you truly grasp the inevitability of death, it is not the end you face, but the beginning of a more profound life. So let this understanding guide you. Wake up and return to life with renewed purpose. We embarked on a journey down the bustling Via Sacra, the most celebrated street in ancient Rome, where a vibrant tapestry of life unfolded daily. This thoroughfare, lined with a multitude of shops, was a microcosm of the city's industrious spirit. Here, artisans of every kind practiced their trades. Goldsmiths meticulously crafting delicate jewelry, blacksmiths forging tools and weapons, potters shaping clay into functional beauty, furniture makers constructing pieces both grand and humble, dyers bringing fabric to life with rich colors, tanners preparing leather, and barbers attending to the grooming of Rome's citizens. Among this diverse assembly of craftsmen was a man who stood out not just for his trade, but for the passion that infused his work. This was a mirror maker, but not just any mirror maker. He was an artist at heart, one who breathed life into every piece he created. His mirrors came in all shapes and sizes, each reflecting more than just the physical image of those who gazed into them. Some mirrors faithfully preserved the contours of their subjects, offering an honest reflection. Others, however, were whimsical in nature, crafted to distort and caricature the likenesses they captured. These playful distortions were not mere tricks of the glass. They were reflections of the artist's understanding of the human condition, a reminder that how we see ourselves is often far from reality. Yet the life of this merchant was fraught with uncertainty. His livelihood hinged on the success of his craft and on whether his mirrors found favor with those who passed through the Via Sacra. The threat of hunger was never far from his mind, as every day was a battle between prosperity and scarcity. Despite these challenges, he woke each morning with a simple but profound conviction. This is my path. It must be this way and no other. His belief in the predetermined course of events was unshakable, though it baffled those around him. How can you believe that everything that happens to you happens for a specific reason? They would ask, incredulous. For many, the difficulties of such a life would have been too much to bear, their dreams crushed under the weight of reality. But for a true Stoic, one who understands his purpose and embraces his journey, every obstacle becomes part of the process, every challenge a necessary step on the path. It is only a matter of time before such a person falls in love with the order of events, with the very fabric of his life as it unfolds. One day, a curious child wandered into the shop and asked the craftsman, "Why do you love making mirrors so much?" The craftsman's answer was as simple as it was profound. Amor fati, love of fate. Destiny has given me this mission. It is no accident, but a necessary consequence of who I am and what I am meant to do. No one else creates mirrors with the same madness and passion as I do. My only hope is that when others look into my mirrors, they see themselves as clearly as I see myself. The wisdom in his words echoes the teachings of Zeno of Citium, who once remarked in the Republic that true self-esteem can only be forged through the discipline of self-criticism. Humanity often errs by overestimating its virtues and underestimating its flaws, just as it is quick to exaggerate the faults of others while overlooking their strengths. One of the most valuable skills we can develop is the ability to judge ourselves with clarity and honesty. By looking inward and assessing where we excel, where we need to improve, and where our efforts must be focused, we unlock the potential for true growth. Many shy away from self-evaluation, fearing it may lead to self-denigration. But these are entirely separate concepts. To identify and refine one's limitations is not to diminish oneself with harsh judgment, but to recognize that acknowledging our imperfections is the quickest path to continuous, incremental improvement. It is in this humble practice of self-reflection that we find the key to unlocking our highest potential. As Epictetus wisely observes, excellence is not born from nothingness. Much like a cluster of grapes or a fig does not spring to perfection overnight. Those who yearn for the sweetness of a ripe fig must first endure the slow, patient process of nurturing the fig tree, tending to its blossoms, watering its roots, and then waiting with resolve for it to bear fruit in its own time. This natural metaphor extends to the cultivation of any virtue or achievement. Patience is not just a virtue, but a necessity. Consider the case of Seneca, a man who, despite his great wealth as the advisor to Emperor Nero, chose a path not of indulgence, but of foresight. It was no secret that Seneca had the emperor's favor, granting him the freedom to indulge in every luxury, to satisfy every whim. Yet having the power to do so did not mean he had the desire or the will. Unlike many who might have squandered such opportunities on transient pleasures, Seneca, with his characteristic diligence, recognized that true wisdom lies in preparing for the inevitable turns of fortune. He counseled Nero with words steeped in the Stoic understanding of life's impermanence. In times of security, the spirit must prepare for future trials. Seneca knew that the goddess Fortuna, who grants us her favor with a smile one day, is just as likely to snatch it away the next. Those who fail to fortify themselves during the calm will find themselves defenseless when the storm arrives. His advice was clear and pragmatic. Dedicate several days each month to practicing poverty, embracing hunger, wearing coarse clothing, and laboring from dawn until dusk. This exercise was not mere asceticism, but a calculated strategy to strengthen the spirit against the seductive dangers of comfort. For in the victories of Fortuna, the greatest peril lies in the comfort she brings. Comfort, Seneca believed, is the most insidious form of slavery, binding a person to the fear of loss, to the dread that what has been so easily acquired might be just as easily taken away. And in this world, one truth stands unwavering. Every ascent is met with a descent. Every moment of fortune is shadowed by the potential for misfortune. The timing and manner of these shifts are unknown to us, but their arrival is certain. Therefore, to live wisely is to reject the lulling embrace of comfort. Instead, one must adopt frugality, not as a temporary measure, but as a way of life. Live with only what is essential, prepare for hardship, and understand that both the good and the bad are as fleeting as the days that carry them. It is in this disciplined approach to living that we find not only resilience, but a deeper appreciation for the transient nature of existence. Building upon the earlier teachings, Zeno of Citium offers us a profound insight. Sobriety and tranquility of mind are attained not through the suppression of emotion, but through equanimity in the face of both pleasure and pain. A person gains mastery over the world only when they have mastered themselves. In these words, Zeno introduces the concept of apatheia, a state of mind in which one remains untroubled by emotional upheavals. Yet Zeno was keenly aware of the potential for misunderstanding this principle. He cautioned that apatheia should not be confused with apathy, the latter being a state of emotional nullification, where feelings are not merely managed but extinguished altogether. It is crucial to note that Zeno did not advocate for indifference to the joys and sorrows of life, nor did he endorse the extreme detachment of metriopathia, a more measured approach to emotions. Instead, he championed a balanced approach, where equanimity serves as the guiding principle. In today's psychological terms, apatheia might be understood as intrapersonal intelligence, the ability to recognize and regulate one's emotions, while metriopathia veers closer to what we now recognize as apathy. Critics of Stoicism often misinterpret apatheia as the absence of emotional experience, seeing it as a cold detachment from both the positive and negative aspects of life. But this is a grave misunderstanding. The Stoic does not seek to become emotionless. Rather, they aim to cultivate a serene stability that prevents them from being tossed about by the waves of emotional extremes. A true Stoic sage, in my view, is someone who transforms fear into prudence, converts mistakes into opportunities for learning, transmutes pain into growth, channels anger into constructive action, turns uncertainty into a quest for knowledge, and harnesses desire into purposeful enterprise. The goal is not to erase emotions, but to recognize them, understand them, and manage them with wisdom. Emotional turbulence must be calibrated according to the unpredictability of external events. To put it simply, given the chaos that nature often throws our way, joys and griefs that arrive unbidden and without warning, the wisest course of action is to moderate our emotional highs during moments of triumph and to temper our lows in times of despair. Aristotle, with his characteristic insight, reminded us that virtue lies in the golden mean between excess and deficiency. The same applies to our emotional lives. Therefore, we must remember the balance: apatheia and sobriety, temperance and serenity, metriopathia and apathy, equanimity and indifference. Each has its place, but wisdom lies in knowing when and how to apply them, ensuring that our inner equilibrium remains undisturbed even amidst the storms of life. In the 6th book of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius extols meditation not merely as a practice, but as a vital exercise for the soul, one that brings clarity and serves as a balm for the mind. Yet his approach to meditation diverges from what we might recognize today as modern or avant-garde techniques. For Marcus, meditation was not about detachment from the world or an escape into some inner sanctuary. It was about deepening our connection with the universe, recognizing our place within the vast web of existence. This perspective was shared by other Stoic thinkers, like Zeno of Citium, who believed that true wisdom lies in understanding our intrinsic connection to all that exists. The belief that we are separate from our neighbors, distinct in our experiences, is, according to the Stoics, a mere illusion, a trick of perception that blinds us to a deeper truth. In reality, everything in the universe is interwoven, bound together by an inherent affinity, harmony, and unity. Marcus Aurelius captured this profound interconnectedness with a simple yet powerful analogy. What is bad for the hive is bad for the bee. Though the impact of a neighbor's suffering may not always be immediately apparent, It is foolish to think that we can remain unaffected by the pain of others. When the world suffers, so do we all, for we are all part of a single organism, a collective whole. The constant struggle of human existence arises from our failure to recognize this unity. We fight against the world, and in doing so, we fight against ourselves. The solution Marcus suggests is simple yet profound: cultivate sympathy. In this context, sympathy is not just a feeling of pity or compassion. It is the deep emotional resonance that comes from truly understanding and sharing the experiences of another. The term sympathy itself is rooted in the Greek word sympatheia, meaning to suffer together. This concept extends beyond merely recognizing the emotions of others. It involves aligning our emotional state with theirs, whether in moments of joy, sorrow, or even desire. The Stoics made a crucial distinction here. They spoke of empathy, empatheia, as the ability to perceive and understand the feelings of others, and of solidarity as the act of sharing those feelings, of allowing another's emotional reality to influence our own. Modern psychology echoes this with its concepts of cognitive empathy, understanding another's emotions, and affective empathy, feeling what another feels. The message is clear. Our neighbors, who are also our lovers, friends, and fellow travelers in life, experience a full spectrum of emotions: laughter, tears, suffering, grumbling, yawning, and ultimately, death. Their decisions and actions are shaped by a complex interplay of biological, social, cultural, environmental, and random factors. In light of this, the Stoic vision of absolute unity is not just a lofty ideal, but a practical guide for living. It is a call to watch over both the common good and our own well-being, recognizing that these are not separate goals but one and the same. The path to achieving this unity begins with the simple acts of listening, understanding, and showing solidarity with others. We may not always grasp the full essence of those we encounter, but by acknowledging that we share the same substance, by recognizing that their joys and pains are reflections of our own, we begin to live in harmony with the world, and by extension, with ourselves. Plato once asserted with conviction that before engaging in meaningful dialogue with another person, one must first adopt a perspective that transcends the narrow confines of individual experience, a panoramic view from above. This elevated vantage point, according to Plato, is essential for truly understanding the broader context in which our conversations and interactions take place. Marcus Aurelius, deeply influenced by Plato's teachings, expanded upon this concept, taking the notion of a bird's-eye view to a philosophical extreme. By adopting such a perspective, he argued, we can observe the grand tapestry of life in its entirety. Armies clashing on distant battlefields, merchants trading goods in bustling markets, lavish banquets celebrating triumphs, solemn ceremonies marking life's milestones, the constant cycle of births and deaths, the noisy turmoil of public courts, and the silent expanses of deserted sands. These diverse elements, seemingly disparate, are all woven together in a complex and often absurd combination of opposites. It is within this grand spectacle that Marcus Aurelius introduces the idea of sympathy, a concept that gives meaning to the cosmos as a unified whole. He reminds us that everything is interconnected, and the exercise of stepping back to view life from this expansive perspective reveals a humbling truth. The human being, with all their daily struggles, lofty aspirations, and fleeting pleasures, is but a small and insignificant part of a vast and indifferent universe. How presumptuous it is, then, to consider oneself the center of a cosmos capable of erasing our existence with a mere flicker of chance. As the philosopher Pierre Hadot wisely noted, taking perspective changes the valuation of things. When we step back, pride, lust, power, honor, and fame, all the things we hold dear, shrink into insignificance. Recognizing our own smallness is the first step toward wisdom, a hidden gem within this philosophy. In this context, the idea of moral neutrality becomes clearer, though it should never be misunderstood. Moral neutrality does not apply to our actions, which can indeed be judged as good or bad, but rather to external circumstances and random events that occur beyond our control. It may be difficult at first to accept that a diagnosis of a chronic illness, the death of a loved one, or a natural disaster carries no intrinsic moral weight. However, upon deeper reflection, one can see that the perceived evil in these events does not arise from the events themselves, but from the way we interpret them. Epicurus was the first to formalize this insight. Things are not good or bad in themselves, but the way we interpret them. This principle invites us to reconsider how we respond to life's challenges. Imagine you are trying to help someone who stubbornly refuses your assistance, who complains incessantly, and who insists on being right. Instead of viewing this person as an unpleasant obstacle, recognize the situation as a golden opportunity to cultivate virtuous qualities such as patience, tolerance, temperance, and respect. By applying this mindset across all areas of life, you transform potential frustrations into opportunities for growth. While we cannot change the past or the events that have occurred, we hold the power to change our perspective on them, and consequently, our actions moving forward. Marcus Aurelius captured this transformative insight in a single profound statement. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, obstacles are not barriers to progress, but are integral to the path itself. Epictetus, in his Discourse on Tranquility, advised litigants to remember that no matter how skilled they are in persuasion, they cannot always sway the opinions of judges and senators. The extent to which we can influence another's perspective is limited, and this realization is central to Stoic philosophy. A wise Stoic focuses on refining their own discourse, presenting their arguments clearly, and encouraging others to reflect in their own time, without attaching their self-worth to the outcome of a legal battle or debate. The Stoic, therefore, concentrates on what lies within their sphere of control, namely their thoughts, desires, and actions. Even if the final decision rests with someone else, no external force can strip the individual of their inner governance. While the universe and its deities may determine whether the tree of your efforts will bear fruit, they cannot prevent you from planting the seed. Thus, the Stoic understands that true power lies not in controlling the outcome, but in mastering the process, in the steadfast cultivation of one's own character, regardless of the circumstances that may arise. Cicero, with his characteristic clarity, offers us a vivid illustration of a key Stoic principle through the metaphor of an archer. Imagine an archer who dedicates countless hours to perfecting his craft. He selects the sturdiest bow and the finest arrow, maintains his equipment with the utmost care, and focuses intently as he draws the string and releases the arrow. But the moment that arrow leaves the bow, his control ends. A sudden gust of wind might alter its path, or the target itself might move, especially if it is an elusive enemy or a swift animal. This is where the Stoic insight comes into play. It is absurd to tie one's self-worth or emotional well-being to an outcome that lies beyond one's control. What truly matters, the Stoics argue, is what remains within the archer's sphere of influence. The choices he made, the efforts he invested, the skill he applied. Beyond that, lamentation over the results serves no practical purpose. Epictetus distilled this wisdom into a simple, yet profound maxim. If I am going to die, I will die when the time comes. As it seems that the hour has not yet arrived, and I am hungry, I will eat. This reflects the Stoic understanding that we must focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. Cicero's discourses also come with cautionary advice, urging us to be vigilant about the company we keep. Keep a close eye on those friends and family members whose behavior is tied to moral vice, he warns. Life often presents us with difficult choices, such as whether to distance ourselves from those who drag us down or to keep them close for the sake of love and loyalty. However, the Stoics would argue that there is no worse bargain than clinging to relationships that offer temporary comfort at the cost of long-term growth. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that tolerating someone's flaws is a noble act. And indeed, tolerance and assertiveness are essential tools in human relationships. Their absence can lead to isolation. Yet, as Aristotle wisely noted, everything has its limits, and this holds true even for our tolerance of others. There are individuals whose ongoing presence exacts a significant emotional toll. Surround yourself with people who are perpetually grumpy, lazy, or melancholic, and it won't be long before you find yourself affected by their negativity. Seneca astutely pointed out that assigning moral blame to those who choose to distance themselves from harmful influences is a sign of ignorance. When you recognize that someone consistently hinders your growth and foresee that this pattern is unlikely to change, the wisest course of action, both for yourself and for them, is to limit their influence in your life, or, if necessary, to say farewell. Remember the age-old wisdom encapsulated in the saying, "Tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are." It's time to distill all these philosophical insights into a practical guide, condensing years of wisdom into a brief but powerful framework. Here are 10 principles drawn from the rich tradition of Greek and Latin philosophy that you should never forget. 1. Awareness of death. Recognize the impermanence of life, for it sharpens our focus on what truly matters. 2. Love of fate. Embrace your destiny with open arms, accepting whatever life brings with grace. 3. Admission of mistakes. Acknowledge your errors, for they are the stepping stones to wisdom. 4. Living with frugality. Adopt simplicity and moderation, valuing what is necessary and discarding excess. 5. Intrapersonal intelligence. Develop a deep understanding of your own emotions and inner world. 6. Interpersonal intelligence. Cultivate the ability to empathize and connect with others on a meaningful level. 7. Integral perspective. Always consider the bigger picture, seeing beyond the immediate to understand the whole. 8. Moral neutrality. Recognize that external events carry no inherent moral value. It is our interpretation that matters. 9. Internal locus of control. Focus on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and reactions, while letting go of what you cannot. 10. Virtuous circle. Strive to create a cycle of positive actions and attitudes that reinforce each other and lead to continual growth. From this point forward, the path you take is yours to shape. Moral evolution does not require the wholesale abandonment of your existing beliefs, but rather demands that you scrutinize them, deciding which to keep, which to discard, and which new principles to embrace. My own ethical code, much like yours, has been deeply influenced by Judeo-Christian teachings. I forgive and I am forgiven. I treat others as I would like to be treated. I do not covet others' possessions, and I am profoundly grateful for the blessings life bestows upon me. It is now your turn to establish your own rules. Rules that are uniquely yours, unassailable by anyone or anything, even if you were to lose everything else. These principles will be your guide, your anchor, and the foundation upon which you build the rest of your life. As we conclude this journey through the teachings of Stoicism, remember that the wisdom we've discussed isn't just theoretical. It's a practical guide for living a life of purpose and resilience. Now it's time for you to take the insights we've explored and apply them to your own life. Reflect on the principles that resonate with you and begin crafting your own code, one that no one can take from you, even in the face of life's greatest challenges. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Daily Stoic for more insights that can help you navigate your life's journey with strength and wisdom. Let's continue this journey together.